delete social media,
deleted my social media,
deleted social media,
deleting social media.
Don't delete social media. I know everyone is out there telling you that you've got to, how bad it is for you, but give me a minute and I'll explain. See, most people use social media in a certain way and they totally abuse it. This is where your screen time, 6 to 7 hours, with a lot of it just spent scrolling, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and it feeds undesirable traits like desire, jealousy, consumerism, and FOMO. And it can be swiping for hours and hours on content, and oftentimes on content that isn't so good for you and is literally hijacking your brain. It's being a consumer rather than a creator. And this type of consumption is bad and terrible. It destroys willpower, it sensitizes you, it overpowers your dopamine system, and is what most people are getting at when they tell you to delete social media. So you may be asking, why am I advocating you keep social media? But you shouldn't need to delete it to avoid it. And for a little analogy, there's going to be bad food around you, fast food everywhere you drive, but you shouldn't have to change your route to avoid eating it. And I get some people need to delete it to fight that urge, but if you're able to resist the urge for those things, there are some real huge benefits you can get out of social media as long as you resist the urge to go on it in the wrong way. First, social media is the great connector. If you've ever heard your parents talk about the days before when social media didn't exist and the only way to keep in touch with someone was to literally mail them a physical letter. These were the days where you could easily lose touch with those classmates from back in the day who you were friends with. I've heard my parents talk about people who they've just lost touch with. They mail them letters for a few years and then that gets to be too big. And that's a big undertaking. It's hard to just keep that going forever, and then people's address changes and you lose touch for good. People from summer camps or just life in general, there was no way to stay connected in that way until social media existed. And nowadays we take that for granted. It's a given. We know that we can connect with someone and stay connected forever, but that wasn't always the way. And it is such a privilege that we're able to do that. And given most people do abuse it, right? If we simply use social media just for staying in touch with people like that and connecting, there would be no problem. But the problem here is obviously people don't just do that with social media. They also abuse it in a whole lot of ways. And I'm sure so many other videos have hammered in all the negatives of social media. If you've seen The Social Dilemma, you know how social media is out there intentionally rewiring your brain to keep you addicted, to keep you locked in. And there's so many bad things about it, but I haven't heard many people talk about the pros of social media and how you can actually use it to your advantage. And number one, as we talked about, it keeps you connected. As addressed in the olden days, people who didn't write to each other back and forth constantly would simply lose touch, and that goes for hundreds of people that we just take for granted nowadays, the fact that we can just stay connected like that over social media. The second part is, bottom line, is other people use social media, and it is what we use to keep in touch and network and build things together. What I mean is, if you become the person who's off social media, you lose on access to all these things, all of these networks, all of these opportunities. As great as it would be to simply ignore these things and use other pathways, it's what other people use and it's what other people expect you to use. So there's a lot of benefits to being a part of this digital community. And number three, when I'm launching a brand or working on a collaborative project, it is reaching out to others in the space, connecting with them and making it happen. It's social media makes possible. When I'm creating a project, social media is what enables me to connect with people and to build something like I would not be able to otherwise. Social media is also the most valuable tool at my disposal. It has never been easier for me to connect with the people that I need to connect with and to gain exposure on an idea from zero by sharing it using the power of social media. By getting off social media, you're limiting yourself from all these positive aspects that you could capitalize on. It's all about being cognizant of how you're spending your time on it and drawing a fine line. As mentioned, for most people, other than a select few, they're using social media as their face, their connection, their entry into the world, and you can use these things to your advantage. Now, I do two things that allows me to make all the connections I need to with everyone, never lose touch, be appreciated by others, and in turn, get that appreciation back to me when I share a product, post, or something that I've been working on. The first thing is, this can take 5 minutes a day. I quickly tap through every story on my feed, and as I go through, if there's something that I connect with, something that I appreciate, love, or condolences to give out, I respond and let them know. A lot of people feel a weird barrier here, where they're like, oh, I don't know if I should reach out if we haven't talked in a bit, and that's a bold move, but that's all bullshit. You've got to get past that. People post things on their story because they want a response, they want attention to it, and they want appreciation to it. And if you show appreciation and feedback to it, then you will be appreciation in return. It's a 5-minute process. I go through it all, I take it in quickly, and I connect with people. And in turn, I'm keeping in touch with people that I would otherwise lose a line of connection with, other than the fact we follow each other on social media. And also, number two, in turn, when I go to share something, that appreciation is poured back to me. One, because of the reciprocity factor, but two, because I've broken that barrier already, and they know that it's acceptable to hit me up on my story, and I'll respond well to it because I've already set the tone in my reply to them. That's the biggest thing that holds people back from talking to strangers on the subway, meeting at a bar, or whatever. Break the barrier first, set the tone, and it will be paid back for you and serve great relational purposes. Now, part two of this is snap Snapchat now makes this actually super easy, or you could always do this the manual way and keep track. But again, Snapchat makes this so much easier than when I used to do it, is it will show you everyone whose birthday it is today. Everyone's favorite word is their own name, and everyone's favorite day is their birthday. Wish everyone there happy birthday. It takes 2 seconds. You'll be appreciated, and chances are when yours rolls around, you'll get the favor paid back. This is the reason that corporations and restaurants send birthday cards and emails and give gifts. They're showing you appreciation on your favorite day, and in hopes that either consciously or subconsciously, you'll show it back over time. But finally, social media is a portfolio for you, and in some cases can be used to build your brand. When you meet, say, a girl out and about or a guy you're trying to network with, and the time comes to connect with social media, your social media could look like this or this. People say that social media doesn't matter, but it is a representation and presentation of you. When you show it to people, whether you want to or not, they are making a judgment about you and who you are. It sucks in a lot of ways because social media is fake in many ways, but the game exists whether you play it or not. And if you want the best success, you've got to play the game. So what I recommend is get a few professional photos taken of you doing things you like to do, high quality photos that represent who you are, a bio that represents you, and that can be it. You don't need to keep posting. Honestly, if you have 3 high value photos on social media, a normal username, a profile picture, you can leave it at that and you're good. But that serves so much when you're trying to connect with builders and creatives or just people in the space, or girls on a night out. It is just a digital portfolio of you to give others a sense of who you are. Now, if you want to step this up a notch even further, we can get onto building a personal brand with social media, which I think is one of the best ways to further your career, make money online, and establish yourself in the industry. But I could go on, and I have to save it for another video. But I'll leave it that social media is the best way, in such a new way that didn't exist for hundreds and thousands of years before, that allows anyone, anything, any business to get out and get widespread exposure with a single post. Thousands make their livings off of personal brands. Hundreds of restaurants have exploded off social media features. Thousands of songs have blown up and trends have exploded overnight. This is the power of social media. You just have to get on the right side of making it happen rather than being a victim of it.
So I just want to take a second and show you in practice how you can actually use social media to your advantage. I'm in the process of launching this brand right now. We just got the box in from China with 500 units. It's called Snooze Guard. Basically, it's just a mouth guard, but that's aside from the point. But I'm launching this new product, right? We're about to do a whole big launch day. And by using social media, I can post this on social media. And number one, even from my own personal account, I can get tons of feedback from friends who will pour it in and support people willing to purchase my product when I launch. And that's all because of number one, that reciprocity factor like we talked about. I've been reaching out to people, they want to pour back to me, and because I spent the time building up these relationships on social media, so people are willing to support me when I do something like this, and they're going to pour that back to me. And of course, then we can get into the whole element of building brand social media accounts around this, or making posts to get this to go viral and tapping into the virality of social media, which is so powerful. And there's a whole host of other elements we can get out of this. But I get it, not everyone's going to be launching their brand like this. So for another example, I was just out the other day. I'm in LA, so I go to a decent amount of networking events out here. And I was out at an event the other day, and I was connecting with someone that ran a pretty successful podcast. And when I'm connected with them, my social media, when it comes time to share contacts and share social medias, it helps both of us see like, hey, this guy is doing big things. He's got a podcast. He's working hard. And you can see that for me, I'm launching products. I'm creating content. And so by connecting, we're able to make this connection. And for both of us, we're able to say, hey, this is a doer. This is someone I want to connect with and meet people in the space. Again, the same principle could be the case if I'm meeting a girl out and about or at the bar. It's support for your ideas. It's a portfolio that shows who you are. It helps build trust, and you can tap into that virality element of social media. So that's it in practice.
Social media is hard to avoid if it's just sitting there on your phone. It's designed to be addictive, so don't fall into that matrix. I get it. Some may not be able to resist the temptation with it just there on your home screen. But what I say is don't delete it. Get at the root of the problem. Address the root rather than the stems. And deleting the apps is just the stems. It's all about being cognizant of how you're spending your time on it and drawing a fine line. And make sure it's not just mindless scroll or opening up the app when you feel bored. Get at the root and replace it. Now, something to note is that every single one of my friends that deletes one of these apps re-downloads it when the urge gets too strong. And that's because deleting an app doesn't get at the root of shit. So you need to answer why. Why do you open up social media? Why do you waste time on it? And why do you get pulled into its addictive spiral? Why has it become such a bad thing for you? And for most people, the reasons they always gravitate towards social media is either boredom, FOMO, or fear of silence and doing nothing. There may be other sub reasons. For a lot of people, those are the reasons why they feel so addicted and pulled into social media. And a few things that I've come to know from my own experiences. Number one, you have to accept and be okay with not always knowing what's going on with everyone all the time. We're in the biggest connected age of all time, but that doesn't mean you always have to know what's going on. You have to understand that there's things that are going to happen, and you shouldn't think about it as missing out, and know that you have everything you need. And if you miss a night out that you don't attend or celebration that you miss, this in the long term, in the long game, this does not matter at all. You need to address boredom. Become okay with silence. Become okay with meditation and not doing anything at all. Get out and start doing things. Become a creator and not a consumer. Social media is so dangerous. It's messing many people's minds, but it's also one of the best tools that we have at our disposal in 2024. It's all about using it responsibly in the right way and not falling into its endless scroll of addiction.